Hey friends, it's Marie here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm making some really fun Halloween treat bag cards, gift cards, or gift tags with this Boo-tiful stamp set from scrapbook.com. So I'm using all of the images here today. I'm going to make different little gift tags that I am planning on tying on little treat bags for some of my son's friends at school. So I'm going to load up my Misty here with all of these really fun stamps, and I'm using some of scrapbook.com's hybrid black ink just to ink these up. I want to get a really nice black stamped impression here. And as you can see, some of these stamps are a solid area like that cat and the little bat's wings. So the first stamp is not always going to look great, but that's why I love using my Misty. I can just go ahead and stamp several times. I think I've stamped 3, maybe 4 times to get a really great impression. And here are those images stamped out. So after I have them stamped out, I'm going to go ahead and color them. Now these are pretty simple images. I didn't have to do a ton of coloring. I just used my alcohol markers, did a little bit of light coloring, and I'm going to show you how I colored this little ghost girl here. So I just used a little bit of light gray, went around the edges. I find that giving a white image a gray shadow kind of makes it pop a little bit, gives it a little bit more dimension. Otherwise, if I leave it white, it looks a little bit flat. Then I gave her some pink cheeks, and I'm coloring her polka dot bow a light green color. Now I am using a few different shades of green. I did my lightest color there. I'm going to come in with my mid-tone gray. This is just green, excuse me. This is a medium shade of green. And then I do have, I think, a slightly darker shade. Or maybe I just did 2 shades, I'm not sure. But I like to do my lightest shade first, my medium shade, and then my darkest shade, like I'm doing here. Put that where there's going to be more dark shadows, and then I'm going to go and blend it all out again with my lightest green. And that's how I do most of my Copic coloring. Now you can notice here that the black ink is not smearing at all. That's because it's a hybrid ink, so once it's dry, it's permanent. You can use it with alcohol markers or watercolors or whatever kind of medium. I'm going to go ahead and set those images to the side now that I've fussy cut them. They're all ready to go, ready to put on my tags. I'm going to go ahead and decorate each of my tags. They're all going to be a little bit unique, and I'm using the stencil Little Paws from scrapbook.com to make a background for that little kitty. I thought this was really cute, a cute way to incorporate these little footprints, little paws into our Halloween tags. I'm using some of this new metallic ink from scrapbook.com. This is a pigment ink, so it's going to be a little bit more opaque than your dye inks. And I'm going to go ahead and just blend it on to my stencil. I'm using one of the domed blending tools, and I'm just blending it on each of these little paws. And once I have them all blended on, I'm going to just peel off that stencil, and you can see how cute this stencil is. I just love this background. And since it's a metallic ink, it has a little bit of shimmer to it as you tip it in the light. I'm using some foam adhesive shapes. These are some circles. Scrapbook.com also has tiny squares that you'll see me use later. I just kind of interchange all of my foam pieces. I just grab whatever in my drawer and I use that. So you'll see me use some of these circle foam pieces and some of the square ones later in the video. I'm adding my sentiment right to the center of my tag, and then I'm going to add my kitty. And you can see I have foam adhesive on one side of the back of this kitty, and I'm using my smart glue on the other side. That's because part of the cat is going to be adhered to the top of my sentiment, and part of it needs to be supported by that foam adhesive hanging off the edge. So that's just one way that I can kind of account for those 2 differing heights to make sure that my cat still has the right amount of support on both sides. So this is a really simple tag, but I wanted to give it something to make it just a little bit more fun and goofy. I'm taking my little googly eyes. These are just tiny little ones that I like to keep in my stash for just such an occasion. If I have a little character here that just needs some character, needs a little bit of googly eyes, I have these little eyes, and they're the perfect fit for this little kitty, so I thought that that worked out really well. I'm storing them in my little scrapbook.com embellishment jars, and I just keep that in a drawer next to me so I can grab them quickly as I need them. And I just love how these little googly eyes look on this little kitty. It just worked so perfectly, and it just makes it a little bit more fun. So I put just a little bit of my smart glue on each eye, and I'm just going to go ahead and put an googly eye over it. They were giving me a little bit of trouble there, picking them up and getting them in the right place, but I managed. So there is one of my first tags. I'm going to show you how I made several more, but I just thought this was really cute. And you can go ahead and shake that kitty and see those eyes move. Now for my second tag, you can see I've already gone ahead. I took some purple paper from a Scrapbook's smooth cardstock paper pads, and I went ahead and I ink blended some bold stripes using some black ink, and now I'm stamping out my sentiment. Now I'm using the Let's Hang Out sentiment with this little bat because he just needs to be hanging upside down, and I thought that worked together really well. I'm attaching him with my smart glue. And I did want to say, if you're new to using the smart glue, something that I've noticed is that you don't need to use a lot of pressure when you're squeezing that bottle. The smart glue flows out really well. It's a little bit thinner than some other glues, so you barely have to squeeze it and you'll get just the right amount. It is a little bit to get used to if you're used to, really squeezing some other bottles, but this glue flows out so nicely, you don't have to really use much pressure at all. I'm using my foam adhesive, and I'm getting this little guy here just in the center, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere him down. And that's mostly my second card. I'm going to go ahead and add some of these glow-in-the-dark Nuvo drops. Yes, they do have glow-in-the-dark drops. I think there's about 5 colors. You're going to see me use this green color here on a few of the tags, and I'm just adding a few little drops here and there because I think that would be super fun to give each kid a tag that's somewhat interactive. So you have the kitty that has that googly eyes, you have some of these tags that have some glow in the dark little embellishments here, and I just think that makes it all the more fun. So I'm going to go ahead and just squeeze a few dots all around my sentiment, making sure to be careful because if you hit a air bubble in these Nuvo dots, sometimes they splatter and I didn't want that to happen. So a lot of the time when I get my bottle started, before I bring it to my paper, I will use it on a piece of scratch paper off to the side, just practice a few dots to make sure it's working, and then I apply it to my project. So this is my next tag. I'm just adding a little bit of sparkle to the bat's wings here with this sparkle glitter pen from scrapbook.com, and that finishes this tag. So we're going to go ahead to a next one. It's going to be a little bit more girly, and I think I really like how it turned out. I'm using lots of greens and purples and blacks and some oranges too for my tag. And so I'm going to do some tone on tone ink blending on this light green piece of paper, this light green tag. And I'm ink blending some Mowed Lawn Distress Oxides on just the bottom. I don't want it to go over the whole thing because I'm going to be adding kind of a custom sentiment that I want to stand out and not get lost in those polka dots. So I'm just going to make sure that I get about 3 rows of those polka dots all ink blended and peel off my stencil. And you might notice that I like to tape my stencil or my project onto my stencil from the back side. That way it will adhere and it won't get in the way of my stencil. So now I'm going to go ahead and start building my custom sentiment. I'm taking my tweezers and my smart glue so that I can pick up these really tiny, these are the tall skinny alphabets from scrapbook.com, and I'm just adding a tiny bit of glue there, and these tweezers are going to help me get them in just the right place. So I'm spelling out the word your, and then I'm going to use one of the sentiments from the stamp set to kind of finish off this sentiment. It's going to end up saying you're Bootiful, and I think that's really cute. And I thought it went really well with that little girl ghost there on the side. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of arrange them together on my tag. I found that these tweezers are super helpful for these tiny dies, these tiny alphabet pieces. Just my fingers tend to get in the way when I'm trying to get these things straight. So the tweezers are a great use when you're using tiny dies like these alphabets, and I can just get it right where I need it to go and then push it down, make sure it sticks. So there is the Your, and I really like the combination of that light pink with the green. It's still kind of Halloween-y, but it looks a little bit more girly. So if you want something a little bit more playful, not very scary, maybe try a little green and pink. You never know. I've been seeing pink more in Christmas and different holidays, and at first I wasn't sure if I liked it, but now that I'm putting these two colors together, the green and the pink, I think it's really fun and playful. So I've embossed that Bootiful word there, and I'm just gluing that strip down, and I'm going to go ahead and apply my little ghost on some foam adhesive, and that's going to finish this card or tag. I did think about putting some glow in the dark dots on here, but I wasn't sure how I would get that to look the way I wanted it to, so I didn't put any on that one. But I'm gonna go ahead and make another tag now. I'm trying to figure out which way the boo goes when you're stamping it so that it's not backwards. But you can take some of these sentiments from the stamp set and stamp a pattern and make a background out of those as well. So I'm just going to take this boo, I'm going to go ahead and stamp it with my Mowed Lawn Distress Oxides, and I'm just going to repeatedly stamp it on this whole background here. So it's going to be a sentiment, but it's going to kind of be in the background, so you're not going to notice it as much, but I think it turned out really fun. So when you're stamping a background with your sentiments, you just kind of have to keep picking up that sentiment and moving it to the next spot, stamping it out, and just repeatedly do that. So I'm doing it line by line. I'm making a line of boos on the top, and then I'm going to go down below it and stamp them out there as well. I do like to start off my page so you can see the boo kind of hangs off the edge of the page, and that way your eye kind of thinks and your brain kind of thinks that the pattern continues even off the page. If it's all nicely in a square there, you're gonna want to have things aligned a little bit neater, so it's kind of easier if you just kind of stamp it off the side and your brain thinks that that pattern is just repeating. So there's my background. I've got my little mummy girl here all foamed up with foam adhesive, and I've got her little sentiment there. I'm going to stick her in the middle, and again I'm using some more of that pink because I really liked it with that little ghost tag, and I think it really goes well for the girls in my son's class. Maybe they'll appreciate having something a little bit more girly. And I thought that was really fun. So I am going to go ahead and add some more of those glow-in-the-dark Nuvo drops to this tag as well. And that kind of finishes the video. I did go ahead and do some additional tags. You'll see some video or some photos here in a second. Otherwise, make sure you check out that description box below. I've got links down there if you want any of these products that I've used. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, tap that bell for notifications, and just do all the things. I'll catch you guys later. Bye.